Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to change the props as well as how to lube the spindle tube wall on the Force1 Velocity RC speedboat. So the first step is going to be to move this little notch over to one of the sides, and then we're going to go ahead and pull up at the back of this top part here and then kind of wiggle, because this has a notch right here at the front, and that should come off. Then we have 4 more notches or switches. Go ahead and move them from what is described as the lock to the unlock position. Do that for all 4 of them. Then it's going to be similar process to that top part. You just lift at the back, wiggle, that part comes off. Alright, here are our internals. First step, we're going to take this battery holder out, 2 screws, loosen them until you can actually remove the piece, and then just go ahead and take that out, which I'll do that right now. Alright, and then we're going to go to the motor cover. Oh, that's not installed right now, but I'll show you anyway. This is the motor cover. It'll have 2 screws, and it is at the front here. So what you would do is screw out this part, and then remove the motor cover here. Alright, now we will remove the other 2 screws that are on the motor holder. Those are just across from where the motor cover screws were. You just get those loose enough to where you can move the motor. Actually, you know what? I think it's better to fully remove the screws, if I can even do it. There we go. Okay. Put those somewhere safe where you're not going to lose them. Alright, and there's all those removed. Before we move the motor at all, there's a cooling tube attached to this coil here. So, and it protrudes to the outside of the hull of the boat, so you can just kind of push on the outside, pull on the inside to get that tube so it's not connected at all. And then, oh, something I should show you. Some of the boats are going to have a motor wire that isn't just soldered on the back like this one. It'll look like this. 2 of these connected to each other. I would show you how to just pull to take them apart, but I think this one is pretty much glued together, but that shouldn't be the case for yours. So anyway, the next step, and this is not described in the manual, but I do it because I think it makes it easier, is you remove this little plastic piece that keeps the spindle tube in place, so that we can have an easier time disconnecting it from the shaft of the motor, I guess, which is right here. So the best way to do this is to push back on the motor here and just kind of go up, I think. There we go. Perfect. Alright, and you want to make sure that the motor is coming up and not just kind of stuck back here, because if it is, you're going to have to bend the spindle tube, and that's not good. That could result in damage of the RC boat here. So now we're going to take off the nut and the propeller in the back. And oh boy, do I have trouble with this every single time. But don't worry, it will come off, I swear. So there's multiple ways of doing this. You can hold this with your fingers, which I almost always end up doing, or you can spin the prop while you use the RC tool here, which should come with your Velocity, and just kind of, oh, I always use the wrong side, just kind of spin it. You'll know when it's loosening and when it's tightening. Let's try spinning this. That is, okay. Today's strategy is holding the propeller, and then you can either spin the propeller with your finger, just kinda like that, and that should loosen the nut. And this will take a few moments, so feel free to skip ahead a little bit. Alright, hopefully this is off enough. Yeah, then you can just use your fingers to get that the rest of the way off. Alright, there's the nut. Keep it somewhere safe. Now get the prop off. This time you definitely just hold this and then just spin. Should spin pretty freely, unless if your boat's brand new, you've never done this before, or maybe you haven't ran it at all. It might be kind of hard to get off, but it should come off nonetheless. Alright. Prop's off, and once the prop is off, if you are simply installing a new propeller because yours is damaged and it hasn't been 7 to 10 times you've used this without lubing the spindle tube, then you can just put the new prop on and work backwards from there. But I'm going to show you how to lube the spindle tube. So we're going to go ahead and pull this part we were holding earlier to unscrew the propeller nut back so that we can actually get to the tube itself. Then we're going to grab a tube. It's a green tube. Should have like a brown kind of viscous thing, liquid in there. That's your lube. And you just gotta, here, let me get a better camera angle here. You just kind of want to get a small dab of that on there because you don't need a whole lot. We're trying to lube the inside, not have a flood in there. That would be bad. Alright, and then you can either just kind of, it'll either go in on its own, or you can kind of put your finger on there to get it in, and you want to kind of move the threaded piece here. I guess it's the spindle, and the spindle tube is what holds the spindle. So move the spindle kind of in and out so you get the lube kind of distributed. Also, don't force the threaded bit if it gets caught in there. I've definitely done that and accidentally broken one of those. You just kind of gotta softly just push it in there. But now spindle tube wall is lubed, and you can either work back on your own if you have confidence, or I'll go ahead and show you how to put everything back together right now. So what did we do last? We took the prop off, so let's put the prop on. Alright, let me just go back to doing this. Oops. Alright, there we go. Kind of catches? Nope. See, I always have trouble with this part right after lubing it because it's so hard to hold on to anything. It's literally butterfingers. Unless I'm spinning it the wrong way, which I do plenty of times. If you want to go to the next step, go ahead and skip ahead. Believe me, this could take me a few hours. Just kidding. There we go. Okay, and then you just kind of spin that on there. And then clearly next we're going to use the nut to secure the propeller. As soon as I get that as tight as I want it, there we go. And oh boy, let's hope that this goes on easily, because ooh, do I have some trouble with this sometimes. There we go. Okay, awesome. So once you get it to the limit of hand strength tight, go ahead and grab the RC tool again and just go at it with that. And let's see if the propeller method works again. Oh, do I have the right one? I hope so. I think so. Oh. Wait. Oops, propeller came unscrewed a little bit. But there's that. We can try and do this again. And this can take a hot minute if you're not patient, because it's really easy to drop all these tiny parts. I mean, it's been 10 minutes already. And I mean, to be fair, I do have shaky hands, but it's a small process, you know. All right, there we go. Back on. Awesome. That's probably what takes the longest, honestly. So now we're going to want to reattach the motor to the spindle, or the shaft, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to have to end up lifting up on this part a little bit with your left hand, and then positioning the actual motor itself with your thumb or your other hand. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So now that those two parts are back together, from here you can put any of these parts in, you know. The order now, the only thing that's super important is that you have the screws on the motor holder on before you put the motor cover on. So actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's actually do what we're saying here. I mean, the hard part is over, thankfully. So just screw that back in. Screw the other one back in. Cool. Okay, that's secure. So, let's put the holder for the spindle tube shaft on here. Awesome. Okay, and now put the motor cover back on. Make sure you line it up with the tubes there. And actually, you know what I'm forgetting? Don't put the motor cover back on. You want to bring the cooling tube right here and pull it back outside to the hole. This is, you kind of gotta, maybe I lied. Maybe the hard part isn't over. You gotta line up on the inside with this hole here, so you can see. So I'm gonna struggle for a second here and get this all lined up. You can see I'm trying to line it up on the inside of the hole. And then once you get it so you can see it from the outside, or you can grab it from the outside, it becomes much easier. But this is also just the hard part. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So once it gets out, like any amount of the tube is coming out at all, just use your fingernails and pull that out. There you go. Now that's connected. Now we can put the motor cover back on. Screw it down until it's tight enough. Doesn't have to be super tight. You don't want to break anything in there. It's just holding it in place. And then last thing we do before we put the covers back on, got to make sure you put your battery holder back in. Oh my goodness. There we go. It also could potentially be helpful to have a second person when you're doing this, but I mean, it's still easily doable with one person. And there's no real safety hazard doing it with only one person. So there we go. We got our battery holder secure. So what do? We grab our cover. You see the notch right here. Slide it back in. Oh, actually, this does not go in this top notch. It goes below, down here, like that. Once you find an angle, you just kind of push it in. You want to make sure that this back seam is up more. So we're going to need to pull this forward, right? So it should click like that. Move all these back into the lock position. Then we have our last top cover here. Same concept, but you are going for this hole here, the notch. If you're going kind of an odd angle. Goodness gracious, there we go. Yeah. Alright, and then just switch back on, and boom. There's your fully reassembled Force 1 Velocity. Thank you for watching the video. And you can find more tutorials on how to fix Force 1 products at the channel. Feel free to edit that out if you want to. Just my intro. Alright.